The Shulchan Aruch says, and this is there's an agreement between the Mechaber and the Ramah. The Shulchan Aruch says that this is not the time of the year, these weeks before Tisha B'Av, to say the bracha of Shechianu. The bracha of Shechianu implies that this is a wondrous time. And to say Shechianu on the eve or on the days that approach the commemoration of the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash seems an unlikely thing to do. So the Shulchan Aruch says you don't wear new clothing during these days. Why don't you wear new clothing? He says, firstly, because you don't want to say Shechianu. And generally, when we buy new clothing and wear the clothing for the first time, we are enjoined to say the bracha, Shechianu v'kiyamanu v'giyanu lazman haseh. What a wondrous time this is. The other reason might be that we're avelim. We feel the mourning, the period of mourning, and that's not a real time for wearing anything new. So that we see that there's a special chumrah here, because there are different kinds of clothing. There are clothing we wear for the first time where we do make a bracha of Shechianu. And then the clothing we wear for the first time where we don't make a bracha of Shechianu. It would seem that during these days we should avoid both kinds of events. We can actually divide this up between the following groups. One is that you have a new item of clothing, a new item of clothing which you bought some time ago but you've never worn. The second is, I mean, it's a used clothes, but it comes back from the cleaner looking just as good as new. And the third kind is clothing that doesn't look as good as new, but still has some of the newness in it. You know, it has a newness smell to it. You may have worn it already, but it has... So if it's a new item of clothing, Ashkenazim don't wear that clothing from Rosh Chodesh Av until after Tisha B'Av. Sfaradim, as you know, only apply this chumrah to the Shavua, to the week of Tisha B'Av. In other words, in this case, this year, Tisha B'Av is on Thursday, so Shavua Shechol Bo Tisha B'Av starts on Sunday. But Rosh Chodesh, of course, is the week before, so the Ashkenazim add a few days to this Isur. What about Shabbos? The Shabbos that comes before Tisha B'Av. So Bigdei Shabbat, I mean clothes that you wear only or generally on Shabbat, even if they haven't been cleaned and ironed professionally, but they still look quite good. I mean, you wear them once a week. You don't... So then, Gihutzam Nikar, we say that. You can see that they're freshly ironed still. Like your pants have a crease in them. The shirts have a crease in them. So some Ashkenazim don't wear clothing of that type on Shabbat Chazon, the Shabbat that precedes Tisha B'Av. And they wouldn't even wear such clothing on a bris milah on Tisha B'Av. And then others say that perhaps this is an excessive chumrah, and maybe on Shabbat Chazon you should avoid wearing clothing that you have never worn. But if you've worn it in a past Shabbos, ein lahachmir badavar. So that it would seem that even though we all know that Avelut and Shabbat are kind of counter-indicated, and that on Shabbat there is no Avelut b'far Hesya, there nevertheless is this discussion about wearing Shabbos clothes on Shabbos. And well, this is itself an interesting topic, and the Gra was involved, but but you see how much we were impressed by the nature of and the importance of the Avelus of Tisha B'Av. And it overrides, in some regards, the Avelut that we know about, the terrible Avelut of a parent or a close relative, where on Shabbat, we don't wear the clothes of Avelut that we wear during the rest of the week. And we don't act as though we are distressed about what happened, but b'fahasia in public, we sort of act as we always act on Shabbat. But Tisha B'Av, representing the national mourning day, the day when the entire nation together feels the weight of the destruction of the temple, on that day, even Shabbat is affected.